you know what it looks like before it even begins. There's tension, frequent misunderstandings, irritation, and before you know it, you two are having the same fight. Hey, I'm Chantel Caraway, licensed marriage and family therapist, and welcome to the Couples Club, a space where I share education and skills for couples in romantic relationships. It can truly feel like you're stuck on a never-ending merry-go-round when the same issue comes up again and again between you and your spouse or partner. By this time, you're probably so aware of when this problem will come up again that you start to notice the little ins and outs of your moves and the statements that both you and your partner make, the same faces, the same tone and voice that tells you, that fight is on the way. While you may even have good intentions when either of you attempts to bring this issue up, the problem becomes you getting stuck at the surface. It can feel like you're really just skating around the top, and it's hard to break through the deep ground to get to what the root issues are. Sometimes you may even feel a little helpless and confused because as much as you and your partner really try to get to the root of that problem, it can feel like you're just stuck and you never go any deeper than you really want. So then what do you do when you're having the same fight? Or why are we even having the same fight? Here are some common reasons that you might be having the same fight. 1, the issue has never really been resolved. Say in the past, you've attempted to talk about it and then you kind of drop it. So then when you drop it all together, you never really quite get to what the real issue is. Or maybe you don't bring it up at all, but then you're having the same fight around that core issue over and over again. So you can tell that we haven't made any movement, although we haven't quite addressed the thing specifically that we continue to get stuck on. Or maybe you're one of those couples who actually did come up with some solutions, but you haven't quite applied any of those solutions to your day-to-day life. Any of those examples could be related to the first point, which is the real issue just hasn't been resolved. The second reason you might be stuck in having the same fight is that either you or your partner are just dedicated to being right. Here's what that looks like. When you're attempting to talk about the issue, either you or your partner might be focused on pointing the finger at the other person. So then it's about blame. Then it's about finding the bad guy, so to speak. And then we get further away from what it is we really wanted to address. Because naturally, if one partner points the finger, the other person's going to defend themselves. So then here you are, maybe attempting to bring up something that's really important to you. Or maybe your partner is the person who's trying to bring up that thing that's really important to them. And then when we get stuck in this blame game of back and forth, pointing the finger, we're really moving away from that territory of where we really want it to be, which is focusing in on what the original issue was to begin with. Another sub point that I like to bring up when it comes to being dedicated to being right can look like not showing any flexibility in understanding your partner's perspective. Or if you're the one who's trying to be heard, maybe you feel that your partner's not showing any flexibility in understanding your perspective. When we don't make space to understand the other person's reality or their experience in a moment, it can feel like they're not heard and they're not understood and that there's not room for them to have a say in the issue. As a result, it could cause you to once again be stuck in having the same fight because now we're also fighting to be heard. The third and final reason that you could be having the same fight is the real issue hasn't quite been addressed. So this one's slightly different from before because in the first example, the thing hasn't come up at all. In this example, you might be in the right neighborhood, so to speak, in trying to bring up the issue, but maybe you're on a different block. Stay with me. You and your partner might be talking about the thing, but you're talking about it in a way where so many of the details get so jumbled in that we don't quite hone in on the big picture or the biggest theme of what you're really trying to say. For example, if you are a partner who primarily does a lot of cleaning around the house, and maybe you've found it a habit where you clean off the counters in the kitchen, for example, and then maybe your spouse or partner comes home from their work day And when they come in, the first thing they do is throw their keys on the counter, throw their bags over here, throw their lunch bag over here, throw any packages that they brought into the house, all on those counters that you cleaned earlier the same day. You might get caught up in saying, you don't care about anything that's happening in here. Do you see anything that's going on in this house? Do you know all the work that I did to get this counter clean or to get this kitchen clean today before you got home? So while that can sound very much like a lot of things being said at once, the bigger issue or the bigger theme is what's under that for you. Are you not feeling appreciated? Are you not feeling seen for the work and the efforts you've made into keeping the house feeling like a home? That's a slightly different message. If your partner's hearing all of those comments at once, it could be overwhelming or potentially confusing, and they may not know necessarily what they should respond to first. As a result, your original message or your original theme of maybe not feeling appreciated or seen or respected for the work that you do to keep the house feeling like a home is lost. So now that we know the reasons that you may be having the same fight, flip that information on its head and focus in on how can you address it so you're no longer having the same fight. First, start applying the solutions that you and your partner may have originally said before to your relationship. Make time to talk about the issues if you haven't addressed them at all. During the discussions, show some flexibility or openness in understanding your partner's perspective as well, if you haven't shown it in the past. If you know there are a lot of thoughts that may be swirling in your head before you actually get to talk with your partner, go old-fashioned. Jot a few points down on pen and paper so that when you actually do talk to them, you're able to focus in on what it is you really want to say. And of course, if all else fails, that's what couples therapists are for. Find a couples therapist to help you talk about those same issues a little different, because then you'll have a third party available who can help you navigate those discussions so it doesn't feel like you get so stuck in the weeds of what you really want to solve. If you found this video helpful, check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and I'm happy to have you here. Take care.